Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Exploring Economic Development with MEDC. We're here for episode 12 with Greg Bunn from MassHire. We're really excited to be back, and happy Wednesday. Last time we were here, we had a representative, Danielle, Gregoire, with us to talk a little bit about what's going on at the State House, what kind of things do they have going on under the Golden Dome, we kept calling it. Learned a little bit about my history, talked to Danielle about the State House and what goes on up there. Really excited when we talked to her about the partnerships that are going on between our city officials and our state delegation. I mean, I think that's just wonderful, and we were really excited to hear about that. So with that, we're going to introduce episode 12 with Greg Bunn, but before that, I'm going to shoot over to Jill Morin. Good morning, Jill.
Meredith.
It's nice to see you today.
It's nice to see you.
I know. I get really excited for Wednesdays now when I get to see your beautiful face.
Stop it.
I know.
You know I'm shy.
I know. Well aware.
I hate the guys. I hate the attention.
Hate the attention.
All right. So administrative stuff.
Let's hear it.
Welcome to the live stream. We're really excited. Episode 12. I mean, I can't believe.
I know you had to really sell me on doing this podcast, but it's been really fun.
Yeah. So our favorite. I don't know if we should say favorites. Ooh. One of our top involved participants.
Absolutely.
Okay. Spencer saying good morning to my favorite podcast. We love you, Spencer.
He called us his favorite, so.
Fair is fair.
Fair is fair.
Fair is fair. So welcome. If you're joining us live on Facebook, YouTube, or now, hopefully, LinkedIn, make sure you comment so that we know that you're watching. Join the conversation. This is going to be a really interesting topic that we're talking about that I think affects everyone.
Absolutely.
So join the conversation. We love that. And then if you're watching this on the replay on those platforms or at WMCT, Marlboro's local cable access channel, who's really killing it on social media right now.
They really are. So I'm a little jealous because they beat us to the TikTok game. So I think we're going to have to join them on TikTok.
Oh, yeah. It is on.
You just wait.
Spencer?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting a little distracted, but good morning to everyone. Let us know if you have any questions or comments. Our email address is there. Our phone number is up there for you guys. Join the conversation.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so with that, I want to introduce Greg Bunn from MassHire.
Yeah.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for being
here with us. A little hurt, though, that I wasn't the guest for show number 1, but that's okay. Number 12 is fine. Yeah.
I think it was just...
So we didn't have guests on show number 1.
Okay.
We were
Okay.
like inching into it.
Fine.
It was a little convincing for me to do this.
Yeah.
But it's been great.
Yeah.
So we're really happy to have you for episode 12, which is awesome. And we're now on LinkedIn. And so we're really, getting going.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to have you today because we're going to talk about a topic that I think is really important to talk about in today's climate. We talked a little bit last week to Representative Gregoire about kind of unemployment and how people get in touch with their representative if they had an issue. One of the big takeaways from the episode was don't wait to reach out.
Right.
If you have a problem, let us know before it becomes a bigger problem and we
Yeah.
can try to help and step in.
Exactly.
So that kind of made us think, why don't we have you come on to the podcast to talk a little bit about what's going on. We'll get into it, but obviously COVID has presented its own challenges and opportunities in this, in this field, in this realm. But before we get into that, can you tell us about MassHire?
Sure. So I'm Greg Bunn. I'm the executive director of the MassHire Metro Southwest Workforce Board, and we are one of 16 different workforce boards across the state. People may not know that we're actually federally funded by an act called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And so we are part of MassHire. So about in 2018, the state decided to take all the workforce professionals under this act and give them the same name. So there wasn't any regional confusion. If you went to a career center in Salem, it would have one name. If you went to our center in Framingham, that had a different name. So it was very confusing for job seekers, for employers. So we went through this rebranding process.
So what was it before, so people
So
can remember?
our workforce board was called Partnerships for a Skilled Workforce.
PSW.
PSW for short. And our mission really was twofold. It was to help job seekers get back into the workforce, at the same time to help businesses grow either through hiring individuals, getting tax incentives, incumbent worker training grants, you name it, at a broader sense. So that's what we did, but we were still funded under that federal act. We did the same thing. We work with the Division of Career Services, and then MassHire came along, and then everybody's under that moniker.
Same
all the
umbrella.
workforce boards, all the career centers have that same name. Sometimes it's a little confusing. People will go to a career center, and then people will come to our board. The board does more of the strategy and more of the administrative part of
Sure.
it. So sometimes we'll have job seekers come to our office in Marlboro, and then we'll say, no, you have to go down to the career center and see somebody in person. But it's really helped sort of streamline accessing workforce services across the state.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. We have better visibility. People know what we do more effectively. Before people weren't sure what to do. People thought of the career centers as the old unemployment office.
Right.
Which doesn't exist anymore. There's no such thing as
you
an
can't
unemployment.
walk into the unemployment
You can't.
office.
No, all unemployment is literally done online right now. What we do is help folks who are out of work get back in the workforce through training, through job readiness workshops, resume writing workshops, things like that.
So one of the biggest things we hear when the mayor and I go out and talk to companies about how do we, retention, how do we keep you here? You know, attraction's a big piece of it, but once you get them here, how do you keep them here?
Yeah.
And it always comes back to the employees and being able to find the talent. And, that's why we work really closely with the schools and trying to build that pipeline. And so you guys are able to play a huge role in that.
We do. Yeah, we try to. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really glad you said that, because we would love more, town administrators, mayors to reach out to us.
Yeah.
If you are having trouble bringing a company in or retaining an employer, because of workforce issues, we can help with that. We have a huge database where we can post jobs. We have access to all the unemployment claimants. We can broadcast those jobs.
So you can really connect actual job seekers with employers.
Yep,
that are
absolutely,
looking.
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And are you so you're not part of the state government, but so how does that work, Greg?
It's an interesting dynamic. So the workforce boards have some level of independence. So we have some oversight and authority that we receive from the state.
Sure.
Because since we're federally funded, state has to make sure we're complying with all those federal regulations. So the state, the state oversight
Oversees it almost.
Right, and to make sure that we're actually doing the right thing. We're not misappropriating funds or doing anything that's spending money on disallowed costs. But in terms of direction and control, really, at the heart of it is our workforce board members, who are made up of business community members locally. We cover 43 cities and towns, so we tried to
Wait a minute, go back to that. You cover what?
43 cities and towns. I always like to brag. We have the biggest workforce area out of
better
all
or worse,
the
right?
16 workforce boards. Yeah, we cover 43 cities and towns.
So what is this, where do you cover? I'm sure it's big.
We need a map.
I was going to say, can you cue up a map? No, so we're way up north. I think we cover Littleton up north, all the way down to Foxborough.
Wow.
Really in the metro area, we cover Waltham, Newton, Brookline.
So are there any other boards that have, so to me, the challenges and the opportunities in those different, Foxborough to Marlboro are different, right? I mean, similar but different. Are there any other of the 16 boards that have that wide of a, or is it you guys take the cake?
I'd like to say we take the cake. We do, and it's just because, so we have just as many, we have the largest labor force. So our labor force is, roughly we have about 550,000 people who are either working or they're unemployed, but they're actually looking for work. And that's comparable. So I guess compared to Boston, who has about 300,000. So we have a lot more people. The challenge for us is they're spread out over those 43 cities and communities. So we need a really bigger physical footprint to be able to actually serve all those folks and businesses as well. So it's a challenge, and really we try to concentrate in 4 major areas. Here in Marlboro, we have our board offices.
Which we're so lucky to have you guys here.
Right, it's nice and right down the street.
A little preferential treatment.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I heard Vin Bin, and that's all you had to say to me, so I was here.
That's how we the employers, that's another piece of it. It's the
smell
amenities.
of bacon
At 11
goes
o'clock
through
every day.
If you didn't know, we're right above the Vin Bin downtown Marlboro.
So I plan on walking out of this interview downstairs, getting my grandma's meatballs, panini, and
look at that! Shout out to the Vin Bin. I love it. I love it. Which I think they're also hiring. So hey, right?
Another shout.
That's awesome. awesome. All right, so you guys are over on Lakeside Drive.
We're on Lakeside Ave, right off of 495.
But people don't come in and visit you there, right?
No,
They're
and
more
again,
at the
we do.
career centers.
I guess we do more of the boring stuff, the board meetings and the strategy and planning. But really, for folks receiving services, we have two major areas. Our walk-in center is in Framingham, and then we just started. After we're going through the pandemic, we just started opening up our office to appointment only. So everything that we did in person, we shifted to a virtual platform. So we have that center there, and then we have another center in Norwood.
Okay.
And then the other hotspot area we want to really try to focus in on is Waltham and that Newton area.
That's so mind-boggling. So like Waltham Newton is so different.
Yep.
Different, similar but different, right?
Yep, different needs, different critical industries that support the economy, different businesses, but
You guys
really
have your work cut out for you.
well, luckily we have good board members, so I'm really thankful. We have good representation from the business community because everything we do is taxpayer funded, and then getting input from these businesses on how we spend that money is really important. So we can be good stewards of that money and spend it on.
How many board members do you have?
We get about 22 board members.
Okay.
We're always looking for new board members.
Awesome,
So
okay.
if I can do a plug, if you run a business.
Wait,
in any of our
Let me set
43
you up. Ready? Look right in that camera and give the biggest plug, anything you want. Go ahead.
If you run a business in any of our 43 cities and towns, we would love to have you on our workforce board. You can find me at gbunn@masshiremsw.com.
And we'll make sure to link that below. That's awesome, Greg.
But honestly, I just wish more employers knew this is
Got
a way.
involved.
I mean, since they're paying for this, in either through their tax dollars or contributions they have to make to the workforce training fund, have some say and let us know what should we train people in, what initiatives, especially for our youth programs too, which is one of our biggest initiatives. What do we want to make sure we're teaching these young people as we create these new talent pipelines?
All right, so you brought it up.
Yep.
So the youth program. Now, we saw you in Marlboro, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
This
I
is
had
going
3
to
or
be
4 ice cream sandwiches. I admit.
All right, so Greg, I have
Where is
to
this going?
tell you a funny story.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I want you to tell us a little bit about the Youth Works program.
Okay,
But
yeah.
before you get into that, I
Yes.
have to tell you, you were at the barbecue for the city employee barbecue. I think we have a picture of it.
Yeah.
You walked by me and my team.
Yep.
And I'm not kidding.
Really?
I said
Didn't
to
even
my
know.
team, that has to be Greg Bunn's doppelganger. Because I had not seen you in so long.
Right.
And I did not know it was actually
yeah.
you.
See if I can zoom. Okay, this is not great on the fly video editing.
Right.
But
Whoa.
the last time I saw you, you did not have this COVID flow.
I didn't.
I know.
Yeah.
You look great, by the way.
I dig it.
Thanks.
But I legitimately said to Linda and Lindsay, wow, that guy really looks like Greg Bunn.
Well,
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
And it was you.
Huh?
So tell us about why you were here. You were with some of the students with the mayor. What's that program all
Yeah,
about?
so that's our Youth Works program. We are really excited. Excited this year about the Youth Works program. We have about, I think, 24 students lined up.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's really a summer jobs program. We run it through a model where we give the students some sort of education about some of the soft skills ahead of time.
Which is so important.
Yeah, and the kids don't always like it. It's a curriculum called Signal Success, and it's teaches them just etiquette and decision making and things like that, so they can perform a little better on these placements. And then after they finish up their placement, we follow up the employer and really kind of gauge where the student improved in his or her job readiness skills. So it's really structured.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we've
What
had
age?
great
What age group
partners.
is it?
Generally, we focus on high school seniors.
So important.
But the big success of it is this the luck we've had with really good partners in the region.
Yeah.
I know Quest Diagnostics is hosting a few kids.
Yep.
Boston Scientific.
That's awesome.
There's a manufacturing firm, Dublé. I know the mayor's been great. He's hired a bunch of kids.
So did he take the kids into his internship
He
program?
did,
through
yeah.
that?
Mayor
That's
did a
awesome.
great job. He brought kids who were working in the IT department, I think the housing department, the library
That's
department.
great.
Yeah, we got to talk to one student and working with the gentleman who runs the housing department, and
Loved
the kid was all excited to the painting and you getting to use the leaf blower and all this stuff.
That's great,
Yeah, so it's fantastic. We're really excited to see it take off here in Marlboro, and we really want to build on it.
Well, and it just gives them to so many different, right? Like I remember being in high school and going to my guidance counselor, and you don't know what type of work is available until you're actually out there and you're seeing it. And I think that's a lot of what we're trying to do with the public school system. And get these kids to realize that
Yeah.
behind these walls, that these big companies, you drive by them every day, but there's so much opportunity right here in your own community, and things, careers and paths that you don't know are available.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a great program, just to get them out there and to see it.
And I have to give a shout out to Megan Burke. Megan Burke runs our youth program.
Awesome.
She's our
Thank
youth.
you, Megan.
Yeah, Megan is fantastic. And to your point too, Megan does a fantastic job with the schools and the educators, giving them some tools so they can provide better guidance counseling. Because I was in the same boat when I went to high school.
I know.
They just said, hey,
you
take
just-
this SAT test.
Right.
And
you just
fill out
you
this
went
college
to
app.
college
Yeah.
and you just looked at, and I remember even not knowing what my major or here's your major, and then maybe these are the jobs you can get if you major in this, that type of mapping or planning for my type A, it didn't happen. We didn't do those things. So I just think this is amazing that these kind of programs
little
are
spoiler
available.
alert, we want to try to roll out a program too for parents to give them a little background
Yes.
on labor market information, where things are going, and some of the information is boring. We try to make it a little lighter for parents, but parents are probably a lot of the ones who are telling their kids they should grow up to be doctors or whatever, but having them get a good sense of the labor market, what's in demand, what fields are growing, what
because
pays what.
they're big influencers of what's
Exactly.
going on.
So yes, we want to try to give as much of this information through workshops and things like that to the students, to educators. The other program, while I'm plugging things,
Please.
We have a great teacher externship program.
Okay.
So each year we take 4 or 5 teachers and give them a summer job. So basically they work 70 hours at local companies, and they get paid pretty decent. Yeah, they get I think they get $2,000 for 70 hours of work.
Wow.
And then they take what they've learned during their summer job at this employer and then incorporate it into a lesson plan back in the classroom.
Okay.
So really
That's
it's another.
so cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Jill's a former teacher.
Oh, yeah.
I was a teacher at Marlboro High School for 11 years.
Yep.
Loved it. Still working in the school district now. But that's
awesome.
really, really innovative.
Yeah, and it's really telling when at the end we have a sort of a celebration where the teachers give a presentation on what they've learned, and just seeing some of the light that goes on to we've had teachers work at iRobot and
Just so cool.
yeah, and then seeing their presentation and seeing this culture and what's important to employers be incorporated in the classroom is a perfect way for businesses and companies to kind of influence their workforce system so they have that good future talent pipeline.
The pipeline is huge.
Yeah. So we're always pushing the state for more money for that program.
Wow.
If you're an employer out there or a teacher out there,
Check it out.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
All
We
right,
have a comment.
I've got to intro. We're on a roll.
Yeah.
I love this.
I love this. Okay, so I've got some comments here in our both on YouTube and on Facebook. So I know this gentleman. I don't actually know his real name, but his YouTube name is Blind Guy, His Wife, Their Life. Awesome, awesome YouTube channel.
Cool.
Seriously, check it out. Great content creator. But he's got a few comments here that I thought were really great, and thank you so much for joining us. So he said when we were talking about bridging the communities and all of that, bridging for employers and seekers is key. And his question here was, I was wondering, how does it all come together from a local and federal perspective, and who can use these resources? So that was maybe 8 topics
Right?
ago.
So I think he's trying to say, so you get the federal funding, right?
Yeah.
But who are the resources available to? And if I'm not getting your question,
And then it was
maybe I'll-
also about all of the communities that you work with, and how does that all?
Yeah,
balance
I guess I'll try to work backwards through that
Sure.
question. But for the most part, anybody is eligible for these services as long as you're a Massachusetts resident. One thing it's really important to note, both for the job seekers and employers, we don't charge for any of these services. So any of the workshops that we may run at a career center, like a resume writing workshop, or using some of the networking tools like LinkedIn, completely free.
And you don't have to be on unemployment to
you don't.
get
I'm so glad you
services,
brought
right?
that up. That's a big misnomer too. You don't. You can be underemployed. You can you can just want to be a career changer.
Right.
Now we do provide funding for training. So right now, in terms of trying to help people more, especially during the pandemic, we just increased our training cap up to $10,000.
Yeah.
So for that, though, you do have to be either a low-income adult, maybe on public assistance, or you've been laid off and you're what we would classify you as a dislocated worker. In that instance, you are potentially eligible for $10,000 worth of training.
Wow.
So that's one thing I can get out today. We have this money. Please come.
You want to spend it?
Yes. So anybody in our catchment area, in our 43 cities and towns, either you live or you were laid off from a company in our 43 towns, we can help you. If you're outside of that catchment area, we can work with some of our partner workforce boards to make sure you're eligible too.
Yeah.
But the same thing for businesses. We do a lot of recruitment events. We do talent searches, things like that. That's all free too. So if a company is really struggling, we can work with you, do a recruitment event. We have one of the cool things that we did during the pandemic is use a virtual job fair platform called Premier, where we could do like real-time job fair. So you would have a virtual booth. Job seekers would come in, they could push a resume to you, you could direct message them, you could initiate a video chat. So it was the closest thing to actually being in person. So again, all these things are free. So anybody in Massachusetts is eligible to use those, and really the central point for accessing those services is our career centers in Framingham and Norwood. We have a fantastic career center director. I'll give a shout out to her, Zoe Jackleth. It's been amazing.
That's awesome.
So anybody's able to use that. But the way it sort of comes together is the federal funding flows through the state, and then the state disperses that all to the different workforce areas. And without getting into the nuts and bolts, there's all this formula funding and things like that. But we get a pool of money, and then it's really our board that's made up of not only just businesses, but they're made up of educators. We have representatives from labor on our union. Really set the strategy in terms of what industries are going to focus on, like the decision to raise the training cap. That's all based on people who want to be on our board. So again, that's why I say the more people.
That's so important.
Yeah,
because everyone has opinions about how money is spent and where things should go and what should be invested in and where time. So if you have strong opinions like maybe we do, get involved. Find a way to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's huge.
So can I this? And you might not know the answer to this. You probably do. But so we're talking about Massachusetts, but it's federal money. Do other states have programs like this too, or they do?
It's a statewide. So the WIOA, which is the acronym for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, is a statewide program. Sometimes it manifests a little differently, but there is a whole network of career centers
across the country.
And in other states, they may be they're referred to as American Job Centers, as sort of as a common denominator. And again, that's why you want to try to have some sort of universal
branding,
and that's so that's why we moved to
the
MassHire. We didn't use the American Job Center so much as the MassHire branding to know if you go into a MassHire center, you have access to all those services, both on the employer side and the job seeker side, statewide.
And so, and one of the things too, I know the workforce training grants, and you guys are able to kind of bridge and help employers get access to that funding
we
as well,
do,
right?
and that's the other thing too. Employers pay into the workforce training fund, and so there are several grants available for employers to train their incumbent workers. Maybe you have workers who are struggling with English. You can find a vendor to do ESOL training, and the board can work with the company who's applying for that and make the recommendation to the state.
We've had several companies in Marlboro that have been able to take advantage of that, and that's a great resource.
Yeah, our deputy director, Henry Bryson, does a lot of that work with companies.
That's awesome.
and kind of coaching them on what they need to do in terms of get their application in order too. But
maybe we can link below too after, kind of links to your site where people can find all this information.
Absolutely.
Do we have another comment or question?
No, but
I
have some questions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I have some. Okay,
go, Jill.
So
go.
I'm curious. So coming from being a high school teacher, and someone I've been employed since I was 15. I think I don't think I stopped working at any point. I'm curious. Do you find with this younger generation, are they aware and or taking advantage of these type of opportunities? And because what I'm seeing a lot of, and I don't know if I'm off base here, so let me know if I'm totally off. But I know that there's a desire. Let's say I just graduated high school or even just college, and let's say I want to work in the life science industry. I want to be hired into the job that I want. Right. So I think that there might be a disconnect of stepping stones that can get you to where you want to end up. And there's a fear of settling. So like, if my dream job is this, I want that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I want to go from point A to point Z. Sometimes. Are you seeing that? Is that just a perception that maybe I'm a little bit off about? Is there what do you see with kind of people right out of high school, college?
Yeah. One thing that really impresses me is how sophisticated some of these younger adults were. I remember
Sometimes
back when
more
I was
so
18.
than the rest of us.
I'm like, wow, these kids are very, very mature.
Yeah. I just wanted to live on campus somewhere, not in Massachusetts. That's what I wanted.
It's interesting, and and it's easy. Sometimes people pigpile on millennials and say they don't want to work, and and we do hear some of that from employers. Sometimes they lack the initiative and investigation skills. If there's a problem, they said they let someone else deal with it and then trying to solve it themselves. But in terms
like the
of
loyalty piece, right? Like I think older generations, you got your job and you stayed there for years.
there is,
And there's this idea, like nowadays, it's almost like if you don't like what you're doing or you don't love it, you just move on to the next thing.
It's interesting too. The like you said, the framework of actually the typical work life is a little different. A lot of young folks are more interested in becoming social influencers and streaming video games, which I would love to do. I'm pretty good at Call of Duty, just saying.
Call of Duty?
Yeah.
I can't see that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, all right.
So, and it's interesting too. We during the pandemic, we tried to do a video exploration series to show typically what we would do is try to bring employers in and talk about what work is like, in a certain industry. So we tried to do that all through video now, like have local community employers do like a short video. Like we had we had a real estate agent do a video. We had actually the Framingham chief of police do a video. But one of the videos that was really cool that we did was somebody who was in that sort of blogger, social influencer realm, Jerry Carabas, who is a blogger for Barstool Sports. So he did a video for us. Senate
awesome.
President Karen Spilka just did a video. We're going to be
It's a lot of different types of
so
paths.
there is a different perception. It's not that traditional pathway, but that's what we try to do in these video series. It's not a linear progression.
Yeah, you're right.
And we try to show that there's different pathways to these particular careers. So and I think the students get that, and I don't think but I think they're less likely to sort of settle into what they perceive as like a typical 9-to-5 drudgery without any creativity, without any room for
flexibility.
growth. So I do think they're
and I'm not knocking that. That is me 100%. I'm so fortunate I was able to end up in a position where I can use my creativity and my social skills and all the things. I'm like, I want to put this together, and then I can do it, and it's providing for my family.
But I think just the landscape of work is changing.
100%.
Right?
It is.
I mean, flexibility is becoming so much more important, and placing more importance on this being able to work from home for young mothers, or like all that kind of stuff. I think the pandemic has kind of brought that to light.
Yeah,
it has.
But we still have jobs that are maybe not glamorous or that are so desperatly needing to be filled.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to jump right into it. That is a great segue.
Yeah.
So COVID, right?
Yeah.
That little thing called COVID that we just went through, or still going through, whatever.
I don't know. Are we post-ban? I don't
know.
I don't know if it's okay.
I know every day seems to change. I mean, we've been so excited to see everybody kind of back at it. Things are opening up. Reopening is happening.
Yeah.
I hope it's gonna stay that way.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say a word. A staffing crisis almost that I feel like we're in the middle of right now, and the hospitality industry in particular. So we're hearing from our restaurant folks, we've got a large number of hotels in Marlboro, manufacturing. A lot of these people are having a hard time finding employees.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're hearing a lot of that's because the unemployment is still going. And how do you incentivize people to come back to work? We talked to Rep. Gregoire about it last week.
Yeah.
And I would love your perspective
Sure,
on it as well,
sure.
because it's a question that I don't know if anybody has the answer to, but we've got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Right.
We got to be able to all work together, because
That's a lot of pressure you're putting.
I know.
Yeah. I'm going to switch it over to Greg. Ready?
Okay. Go.
There you go.
So I think I don't think there was any one factor that went into it. So I do think some of the additional pandemic-related unemployment money did
exacerbate the
It
problem?
did create the problem because early on individuals were getting $600. We sort of crunched the numbers, and if you were making $74,000 or less, if you were on unemployment, you were actually making more. So
Right.
there was, and so I think that had a factor. That federal pandemic unemployment compensation is now $300 instead of $600. So
Right.
that is actually set to expire September 4th.
4th.
But I think there were other factors that went into it too. I think people were concerned about about COVID, catching COVID.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
people,
Fair.
especially it was especially difficult for parents
Yeah.
whose students, whose sons and daughters,
Yeah.
had to learn at home, and they
Right.
had to be there to babysit.
I was
for them. So-
homeschooling 4.
Yeah. So that was a factor in it as well, and one of the interesting dynamics of this people I think began to rediscover the importance of a work-life balance.
Right.
Working home, being from the family, being with their dogs. The amount of time
Right.
I've got to spend with
The
my
dogs.
dog has been,
Dogs keep coming up on the show.
right. So I think all those were a factor in it, and there were some policies too that led to it. So typically before the pandemic, if you were collecting unemployment insurance, you were required to do at least 3 work search activities a week.
And you didn't have to do that during the pandemic.
That got
right?
waived, and again, and I don't like the term unemployment assistance. To me, they should be referred to as really job seeker benefits because the employers pay into the unemployment trust fund. That's a big misconception. A lot of people get laid off, and the workers think, oh, well, I paid into this, I'm going to take a vacation. It's really the employers are
the ones
who
that are
are
paying it.
paying, and they're going to be impacted too when their unemployment contribution rates go up.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that had a factor where people weren't required to look for work. We run a federal program called RESEA. It stands for Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment. In a nutshell, what that means is individuals who are collecting unemployment had to come into the Career Center, go through a workshop, learn about what we do, and then follow up with a career action plan. That program got waived too. So there was really no. I mean, if you look close, it's like a perfect storm of the COVID, the policy, the additional funding. I think all those led into this.
And I don't know when it's gonna. So we were talking right before the broadcast too about like. And then so September 4th so it's the extra money that's going away.
Right. Standard
so
unemployment you'll still be
still be
available
able to
to
get
collect. It'll
that.
be that additional $300 a week that will be available.
Okay.
And so how long? So previously before the pandemic, there was a cap on how many weeks you could collect. Is that from a state perspective? Is that still?
I think at the height, I think you could collect
wasn't it
close
like 12
to 80
weeks or something?
Well, typical unemployment you collect for 26 weeks if there's no
26
other additional added federal extensions. But I think at the height of it, I think you could collect close to 80 weeks.
80
but again,
weeks.
I'd have to look at the chart side by side again. But
Yeah.
So that some of those federal extensions are they're triggered by an unemployment rate. So right now in Massachusetts, unemployment rate is 5.1. So as that receded, those extensions rolled back, and people could collect for a shorter and shorter duration. So
Well, and just for perspective, right before the pandemic, Marlboro had its lowest unemployment rate in like 10, 15 years, I think it was.
Yep.
So things were so good right before the pandemic hit, and it's kind of crazy.
It was. I mean, and typically some economists would tell you full employment is right around 3%, and we were seeing like 2 point.
I think we had 2% unemployment.
It was like,
Wow.
Shut the lights off. Our job is done. But it's getting back to that. So I think Marlboro's 4.3 right now. Their unemployment rate. But there are some bright spots to be optimistic in the short term. Those work search requirements are reinstated. That RESEA program I mentioned is reinstated, so that's going to start back up again. So individuals will be coming into career centers more.
Yeah.
So we'll have more of a talent pool.
When you get more of a conversation too.
Exactly, and
Right.
and it's just it's funny. I always say that we're the best kept secret. Nobody knows half the services that we can offer folks. So the more people who come in, the better. So that's a bright spot that those policies are reinstated. In Metro Southwest, the unemployment rate actually went up, and people start to worry again. But that's actually. In my opinion, I think it's a good thing because what drives that unemployment number is the whole labor force plus the unemployed people who are looking for work. That's all done through a phone survey. So when people get a call from the people doing the survey, they're asked, are you out of work are you looking for work? So those folks who say, I'm not working, but I'm not looking for work either, they don't get counted in the measure. So it makes the unemployment number actually seem a little lower. I think what we're seeing now, that's why the unemployment rate is going up a little bit in Metro Southwest, because there's more people saying I'm out of work,
And
but I'm looking for work.
Right.
Okay.
So I think you're going to see.
So that's.
Yeah, I you know.
Well, and I think you guys are going to play a huge role over the next couple of months, you know, because, and Jill, you and I have talked about this too. So now, okay, the unemployment runs out. Now people they're almost forced to go back to work.
Right.
But now we're going to have to retrain, right? And so it's been almost 2 years of some people not being at work. And yeah, and so I think that those types of programs that you guys have available, that's going to be key for people, I think, in the coming months.
Yep, and again, we really rely on both sides. I mean, we really need employers to let us know what do we need to train people in, what new technology, what new, you know, because I know businesses have changed the way they do things. Some are really, really wholeheartedly adopting these video platforms and using new technology that folks who are out of work may not be aware of, and so anything we can do to train people to meet those employer needs, you know, is we're always trying to figure out that puzzle. But I do, so I do think I'm optimistic about that. I do, you know, that the pandemic-related federal unemployment money expires September 4th too, so people won't be collecting as much. And I do think just because of the summer. I mean, you know, if you can collect unemployment during the summer, and you know,
especially if you've got kids that are out of school. I was thinking, okay, so it was around April when people were really starting to be vaccinated and be able to go back to work, but then school was going to get out in a month. So if I wasn't working and if I was the primary caretaker in my home, I would be like,
real decisions.
Let me ride out the summer. Let me work on our budget so that I can be home, because then where am I going to send my kids? There are a lot of summer programs open right now, but not maybe as many as there were in the past. So finding coverage is tricky.
It is tricky, and even like the child's care aspect of it is such a factor too.
That was that was a big factor too.
It is, and I mean even you know, with vaccinations and you know, young kids, and I mean Linda
and
I
to
talk
go
a lot
on quarantine. How many times did?
Oh my gosh, the
just
amount of
because,
quarantine that happened in this office with 3 moms. I mean, it was a little crazy at times, but Linda and I were talking yesterday about how even the daycare centers right now are still like, you have to pick up by 5 o'clock. So you see almost like the mad dash of the working parents that are like running to the center at 4:30 and like even that in my brain I'm saying, well, most people work till 5. So how do you get there to pick the kids up before 5 o'clock?
And
so
it wasn't always like
no, it wasn't.
That.
It used to always be open till 7.
But it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Anyways, interesting.
Yeah.
We're bumping up against time. This has been such
we're not.
We are. This has been
We
such
kind
a
of
great
maybe
conversation. Yeah. So
what else on the list?
I know. I'm looking at our list of things that we really wanted to make sure we talked to you about. So we've talked a little bit about the future, what's to come, your thoughts on that. Can you leave us with some advice, the best advice you have for either job seekers or employers, whether it's how to get in touch with you guys or just in general about what's going on in the world?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a job seeker and you're thinking getting back in the workforce, I mean, the biggest advice is come in and take advantage of the training dollars that are available. The training cap has never been this high. We, you know, even beyond the training, we can help people with supportive service costs. So we can even pay in certain instances for testing fees, or if you're getting into a trade, you know, tools, things like that. So please come in and take advantage of those federal dollars. You know, from the employer side, it's just really making sure you know all the resources that are available and take advantage of those. That's the biggest thing too. All these programs are out there. We can help navigate that. So if you're not sure, you know, contact us and let us know. You can always find us at www.masshiremsw.com.
Awesome. We'll link that below too.
Those are on our Facebook and our YouTube comments. The links will be there.
Yeah, I mean, because resources are out there. Again, you know, and this is why I'm really grateful that you both invited me on the show, is so I can actually, you know, tell people
about
these things. That's our own fault. I think if there was a fault of the system, we don't do enough to really market all the great stuff that's available for.
Well, we've been saying for years that Massachusetts, in and of itself, marketing, like even from an economic development perspective, you know, there's so much more we can be doing to promote ourselves. But Marlboro, I think we do a pretty good job. We do a pretty good job. So with that, I want to also be able to plug, before we let you go, the job fairs.
We do, in anticipation of September 4th rolling around. So we have a lot of job fair activity coming up. So the state is putting together a statewide virtual job fair that's going to run through August 16th to August August 20th, and you can find out about that by going to mass.gov/job fair. That's a statewide, and that's going to use that virtual platform I talked about.
Yep.
Premier.
Yep.
So if you're a job seeker, make sure you have a good resume that you can forward off. So that's gonna run through the 16th through the 20th. We're doing some local in-person job fairs around here.
Yeah, so we've been working with the Chamber and MEDC with Sean in your office by putting together a hospitality in-person job fair. Lindsay in our office has been working.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it
All
right
right
there.
Yeah, we're really excited. I think we're going to be
exciting.
working with you on August 26th to do one right here in town. We're doing one with Neponset Chamber on August 26th, and I think we're doing one on the 24th with the Metro West Chamber. So again, you can find out more about those by contacting us through the website.
Yeah, so ours is on Thursday, August 26th. I'm looking at the time from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Holiday Inn and Suites, right on Lakeside Drive.
And then we've got some other workshops, right? Some interview workshops.
So that's an old one. So that one was actually from our old in-person job fairs, but MassHire was hugely helpful to us when we were doing kind of it was resume building workshops. You guys helped with kind of getting people prepared for interviews. So we really look forward to be able to bringing those back.
That's a big issue. I mean,
big time.
You wouldn't believe how many resumes we see that are like 7 pages long, and
Well, my husband and I were just talking about this the other day. The style of resumes has changed so much too. You know, kind of that old like one pager with everything. It's not like that anymore. So you got to stay relevant with those youngsters.
Give me one resume tip. Not that I'm looking for employment.
Don't put your picture on it.
Don't put your picture on it.
People do that.
Spray
and we
perfume.
don't do objectives. I'd like a job that will help me align my passion for butterflies, things like that. You really want to emphasize to employers right away an executive summary of all your skills.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Hire me because I'm awesome.
Right.
Did you hear Jill say spray perfume on your
Well,
resume?
I just
actually that works for me. If I get one, right.
What was
Love it.
Legally Blonde? I'm sorry, I went to Legally Blonde with like the pink resume and the squirt of perfume.
You did not give me one of those when you applied here.
No.
It's awesome. Greg, thank you so much.
Great. It was a
This
pleasure.
has
Thank
been
you so
such
much.
a wonderful conversation.
Right.
A lot of good content for people. Make sure if you're watching, if you're a job seeker or you're an employer, that you're checking out some of these resources. And if you have questions or you'd like to connect with Greg directly, let us know, because we're happy to make that connection. And we look forward to seeing you all for our next episode, not next week, but the week after at 10 a.m.
All right.
So thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
My pleasure. Thank you.